Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. Ethan Grant stood silently in the dim cell, his back pressed against the cold metallic wall. The hum of alien machinery reverberated through the prison, a constant reminder of the inescapable truth he had been abandoned. The former president of Earth, once a symbol of hope and unity, now found himself exiled to an alien prison on a desolate moon, light years away from his home. His eyes scanned the small, windowless room, the pale blue light casting eerie shadows on the wall. The air was cold, biting at his skin through the thin prison uniform they had forced on him. Ethan had been president for 8 years, a beacon of leadership in an era of instability, only to be betrayed by his own government after losing his re-election. It wasn't true just political betrayal. They had feared him, feared what he knew about the extraterrestrial entities influencing Earth. And now he was here, forgotten by the world, locked away with Earth. Most dangerous mind. He clenched his jaw, the weight of it all settling into his bones. But this wasn't to the end. He refused to let it be. The heavy clanking of the cell door sliding open caught his attention. 2 figures stood in the doorway, their silhouettes framed by the dim light of the hallway. One of them, a tall woman with sharp features and short, unkempt hair, stepped forward, her piercing gaze fixed on him. Ethan straightened, his eyes narrowing. "I am. And you?" "Dr. Helena Moss," she replied curtly. "I heard rumors they locked you up here. Didn't you think it was true?" Ethan crossed his arms, eyeing the second figure, a broad-shouldered man with a scar running down the side of his face. He recognized him immediately. Jack Harper, decorated military strategist. "What are you doing in this place?" Jack's lips twisted into a bitter smile that should just say, "I didn't you see eye to eye with Earth's new leadership. Got me exiled like the rest of the dangerous mind." Ethan nodded, understanding all too well it was no coincidence they were here. Earth's new government had rounded up anyone who posed a threat: scientists, soldiers, thinkers, and locked them away, hoping to bury their talents and ideas forever. "They're scared," Ethan said, breaking the silence. "They know what soon they'll come in." Helena raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "There's a war coming," Ethan replied, his voice low but firm. "The Jarlin are planning an invasion of Earth, abasing the intelligent. They're remanipulating Earth and politics, weakening us from within. And by locking us up here, they've removed the only people who can stop them." Jack's face hardened, the weight of the revelation sinking in. "So what do we do?" Ethan stepped forward, his gaze locking with Helena S. and Jack said, "We get out of here, we escape this prison, and we return to Earth to stop the Zakalin." Helena let out a short, humorless laugh. "Escape? You've seen this place. It's impenetrable." "Every prison has its weaknesses," Ethan said, a spark of determination flickering in his eye. "And we have the combined intellect and skill to find it, but it'll need to work together." For a moment, the 3 of them stood in silence, the weight of the task ahead of them pressing down. Helena crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing in thought. "This isn't just about escape. Is it you were talking about taking on an entire alien empire?" Ethan met her gaze, his expression resolute. "I am, and if we don't, Earth won. I stand a chance." But Jack grunted, crossing his arms. "We were going to need more than just the 3 of us." "There are others," Ethan said. "Scientists, engineers, soldiers, all locked up in this prison. We find them, and we form an alliance." Helena glanced at Jack, then back at Ethan. "You were serious about this?" "Dead serious," Ethan replied. "We might have been abandoned, forgotten by Earth, but we're not done. We still have a chance to fight back." Helena sighed, running a hand through her hair. "All right, I am it." Jack nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Let's do it." Over the next few days, Ethan, Helena, and Jack quietly began gathering a small group of prisoners, carefully selecting individuals with the skills they would need. Among them were engineers, tacticians, and even a hacker who had been imprisoned for attempting to expose government secrets. They met in the shadows in the quiet corners of the prison, where the alien guards rarely ventured, whispering plans and strategy. The prison was a technological marvel, its walls reinforced with alien alloys, its security system a web of sensors and energy shield. But it wasn't perfect. Ethan and his alliance began to uncover small weaknesses, chinks in the armor that they could exploit. Dr. Moss, brilliant and methodical, had taken the lead on understanding the prison security system. She spent hours analyzing the prison infrastructure, identifying potential vulnerability. The mainframe controls everything, she explained one evening as the group huddled together in a dimly lit maintenance room. If we can hack into it, we can disable the energy shields that keep us trapped. Jack, ever the strategist, frowned as he studied the rough map of the prison they had cobbled together. Getting to the mainframe wouldn't be easy. It's in the heart of the prison, heavily guarded. We'll need a diversion. Ethan nodded. We'll create one. We can sabotage the prison, zone power supply, force a temporary shutdown. It'll give us a window to access the mainframe and disable the shield. Helena glanced at Ethan, her expression skeptical. Even if we manage to disable the shields, how do we get out there? There's no way we were just walking out the front door. We won, Ethan replied. There's a hangar on the eastern side of the prison. It's ours, where they keep the transport ships. Once the shields are down, we take one of the ships and get off this rock. Silence fell over the group as they considered the plan. It was risky, dangerous, and hinged on perfect timing, but it was the only chance they had. I'll need time, Helena said, her voice steady, hacking into the mainframe. Be easy, and I'll need a team to help me. I'll handle the sabotage, Jack said. I can take a team to the power supply. We'll create the diversion. Ethan looked around at the group, his heart swelling with pride. These people had been discarded, forgotten by the world, but they were far from broken. They were fighters, survivors, and they were ready to take their fate into their own hand. All right, Ethan said, his voice firm. We move tomorrow night. Make your preparations. This is our only shot. The night of the escape arrived quickly. The prison was eerily quiet, the cold hum of alien technology the only sound in the air. Ethan stood with Helena, Jack, and the rest of their group in a darkened corridor, the tension palpable. Remember, Ethan whispered, stick to the plan. Timing is everything. Jack nodded, his expression grim. We'll be in position at the power supply. You'll get your diversion. Helena adjusted the small device strapped to her wrist, a makeshift hacking tool she had built from scraps. I'll need 10 minutes in the mainframe, no more. Ethan's eyes met hers and he nodded. You'll get your 10 minutes. With a final nod, Jack and his team disappeared down the corridor, heading for the power supply. Ethan, Helena, and the rest of the group moved in the opposite direction, their footsteps silent as they made their way toward the mainframe. The tension in the air was suffocating. Every step felt like a gamble, every sound like a potential threat. The alien guards were patrolling, but they had chosen their moment carefully during the shift change, when the prison's security would be at its weakest. As they neared the mainframe room, Ethan Cyrus' heart pounded in his chest. This was it. If they were caught now, it would all be over. Helena moved to the door, her fingers flying across the small device on her wrist. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the mainframe room beyond. It was a sterile metallic space filled with rows of alien consoles and glowing screens. Ethan followed Helena into the mainframe room, his gaze darting around the space. The glow from the alien consoles cast an eerie light over the room. Helena moved quickly, her fingers flying over the interface, her brow furrowed in concentration. Ethan kept his eyes on the entrance, nerves on edge, as the seconds ticked by. How long? He whispered. Just a few minutes. Helena muttered, not looking up. The system is more complex than I thought. It's not just about disabling the shields. We'll need to reroute the entire security grid to avoid triggering an alarm. Ethan clenched his fists, his body tensing as he kept an ear out for the sound of approaching guards. The silence was oppressive, each second feeling longer than the last. He could almost hear the ticking of an invisible clock, counting down to the moment everything could go wrong. Suddenly, Helena cursed under her breath. Damn it. I need a bypass. This thing has layers of encryption. Ethan leaned closer. Can you do it? Helena shot him a look. I am the best there is, but I am gonna need a little more time. Tell Jack to hold off on the sabotage for another 5 minutes. Ethan quickly tapped a message into his communicator, sending a signal to Jack's team. The response came almost instantly. No more time. Power going down in 60 seconds. Ethan's pulse quickened. We only have 5 minutes. We've got 60 seconds. Helena's eyes widened, her fingers moving even faster. Sweat beaded on her forehead as the seconds slipped away. Ethan saw its hot hammered in his chest, knowing the power would cut soon, plunging the prison into chaos. They had to be ready. 30 seconds. He hissed. I know. Helena snapped, her voice tight with frustration. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed in the final command. The main console beeped and the alien language on the screen shifted. "I got it," she breathed. The room suddenly went dark as the power cut. Ethan's cell world plunged into blackness for a heartbeat, the air feeling thick and heavy. Then the emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a faint red glow. The low hum of the prison systems became an erratic pulse as the sabotage took effect. Helena looked up at Ethan, her face illuminated by the crimson light. "The shields are down and the security grid sats offline. We've only got 10 minutes before backup systems kick in." Ethan nodded sharply. "Let's move." They sprinted down the corridor, heading for the hangar. Alarms began to blare, distant shouts echoing through the prison as the guards realized something was wrong. Ethan says group moved swiftly, navigating the maze like halls with precision. Helena's team of engineers had memorized the prison quote and timeout, and now it was paying off. They reached the hangar just as the first wave of guards appeared at the far end of the corridor. "They've onto us," one of the engineers shouted, panic rising in his voice. Ethan turned to Jack, who had just arrived from the power station. His face grim. "See, we'll hold them off. You and Helena get the ship ready." Jack's team formed a defensive line at the entrance to the hangar, weapons drawn. Ethan watched as Helena ran toward the alien transport ship. It was sleek and unfamiliar, its sharp angles glinting in the dim emergency light. The ship was their ticket out of here, but getting it airborne wouldn't be easy. "We need to disable the hangar lockdown," Helena shouted as she and her team scrambled toward the ship. "It's still sealed shut." Ethan cursed under his breath. There was no time to spare. The guards were closing in fast, their alien weapons humming with deadly energy. Jack's team opened fire, the air erupting in bursts of plasma and energy bolts. The sound was deafening, and Ethan could feel the heat of the blasts as they narrowly missed him. "Helena," Ethan shouted over the noise. "I am working on it," she yelled back, frantically, typing commands into the ship's side console. "Just keep them off me for a few more seconds." Ethan turned back toward the firefight, his heart pounding in his chest. Jack's team was holding the line, but they were outnumbered. The alien guards moved with precision, their sleek armor reflecting the flashing lights of the battle. One of the guards broke through the line, charging at Ethan with an energy blade. Ethan barely had time to react, raising his weapon and firing a shot that sent the guard crashing to the ground. "Doors are opening," Helena shouted triumphantly. Ethan glanced over his shoulder just in time to see the massive hangar doors begin to slide open, revealing the starry void beyond. The ship's engines roared to life, their deep hum vibrating through the floor. "Everyone get to the ship," Ethan shouted. Jack's team began to fall back, retreating toward the ship as the guards continued their advance. Plasma fire rained down around them, and Ethan could feel the heat as a bolt of energy whizzed past his ear. He fired another shot, taking down a guard who had been about to flank Jack. The group scrambled up the ramp into the ship, the alien craft, its interior lit by a faint blue glow. Ethan was the last to board, his hand gripping the side of the ramp as he pulled himself up. He could hear the guards shouting behind him, their footsteps growing louder as they approached. As soon as Ethan was aboard, the ship hatch doors slammed shut. Helena was already in the pilot's seat, her hands flying over the controls. "Hurry, hold on," she shouted. The ship lurched as it lifted off the ground, its engines roaring. Ethan stumbled but caught himself gripping a nearby console as the ship accelerated toward the open hangar door. Plasma bolts ricocheted off the ship, cess hold, but the shields held. They shot out of the hangar and into the cold expanse of space, the alien moon quickly shrinking behind them. For a moment there was silence, the stillness of space settling around them like a blanket. Ethan exhaled, the tension in his chest finally releasing. But the moment of calm was short-lived. A warning beeped on the console and Helena's cell's face tightened. "We've got company alien fighters heading right for us," Ethan cursed. "How many?" "3, maybe 4, Helena replied, her fingers flying over the controls as she adjusted their trajectory. "We can outrun them if I can get us into warp." "They were closing fast." "Do it," Ethan said, his voice firm. "We need to get back to Earth, and we need to do it fast." Helena nodded, her focus entirely on the task at hand. The ship's engines whined as they pushed to full throttle, the stars outside blurring as they picked up speed. The alien fighters were closing in, their sleek forms darting through space like predatory birds. Ethan felt the ship shudder as the first fighter fired, the impact sending a violent jolt through the cabin. Shields holding, Helena muttered, her voice tense. Pray but they won, to last long, under sustained fire. Ethan clenched his fists, his mind racing. They couldn't afford to get caught now, not when they were so close to escaping. He moved to the weapons console, quickly scanning the unfamiliar controls. I am going to see if I can return fire. Keep us steady. The ship shook again as another blast hit them. Helena gritted her teeth, her eyes never leaving the view ahead. Asen, I need that warp drive ready or we're dead in the water. A minute, Ethan said, his fingers moving quickly over the control. He activated the ship's weapon systems, aiming at the nearest fighter. A volley of plasma bolts shot from their ship, narrowly missing the alien fighter as it banked sharply to avoid the fire. The fighter returned fire, another blast slamming into their ship. Ethan felt the heat of the impact, the hull groaning under the strain. He fired again, this time scoring a hit on the fighter's swing. The alien craft spiraled out of control, veering away into the darkness of space. One down, Ethan muttered, his focus sharp. Hold on, Helena shouted suddenly. Ethan braced himself as the ship jolted violently, the stars outside warping into streaks of light as Helena activated the warp drive. The alien fighters disappeared behind them, left in the dust as they rocketed toward Earth. The cabin was filled with a tense silence once more, only the hum of the engines breaking the quiet. Ethan leaned back in his seat, his chest rising and falling as the adrenaline began to fade. They had done it. They had escaped. But as the weight of the situation settled in, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. They were headed back to a world that had forgotten them, a world that didn't know the danger it was in. He glanced at Helena, her face illuminated by the faint glow of the console. She caught his eye and gave him a small nod. They were in this together now, and there was no turning back. We were coming for you, Earth, Ethan muttered under his breath, a steely resolve settling in his chest, and we were going to win.